Most people think they're afraid of failing. They're not. It's a little deeper than that. They're more afraid of being seen failing. Case in point, we fail like all the time in private. You say you're going to wake up earlier, you don't. Some people say they're going to record a video. You say you're going to the gym, I'm going to make that offer. I'm going to change my life. And they don't. So failure alone is not what's keeping most people stuck, because you fail all the time. The real fear comes from being seen failing, so it's not just failure. Being seen, being awkward, feeling awkward, that's the part that people avoid. Not the work, not the exposure, because private failure, it hurts, but public embarrassment feels like identity damage. And that's where most dreams die. Not because you can't take the next step, not because you don't have talent, no potential, and not because you don't know what to do. You do. It's because the next step is going to make you look and feel like a beginner. And a lot of people can't tolerate that feeling. They're so confident over here that this is what they avoid. Some people wait. Some people are waiting. You watch more movies, videos, go to more seminars, read some books, gather more information. And that takes the place of taking that actual step. Because you start to tell yourself, to avoid the feeling of failing, that I need to keep doing something. Collecting information is doing something, feeling like you're getting stronger and smarter. Telling yourself, I need more clarity, more time, confidence, because the brain will keep running to protect the old story. It'll do anything to keep you from becoming better, because better means change. It'll tell you, I'm not ready, but confidence was never the starting point. The real problem is they want to grow without any embarrassment, without any failure, without any falling short. And that just doesn't exist. So today we're not talking about failure. We're talking about embarrassment, scared, fear, because embarrassment is not a sign for you to stop. A lot of the time, embarrassment is actually the sign that you've just reached the end of your old identity and you're about to break through a brand new place. But you're forgetting that the ego identifies with the old story, and that's how it defines itself. So the ego wants to stay alive, and it sends you a message. If you want to change, you're gonna get embarrassed, you might fail, and I'm here to tell you, growth is on the other side of embarrassment. Once you understand that embarrassment is the actual message, you get to interrupt it, and then you get to take the next step. So let's get into it. So if growth is on the other side of embarrassment, then the question becomes, how do we personally get to the other side? I can tell you right now, you don't get there by waiting for the feeling to disappear. You get there by stopping the momentum, because the thought comes first. And then you'll start to get the feeling. And feelings, once the feelings kick in, that's momentum. And the feeling we're talking about is the feeling of embarrassment, fear, judgment, especially self-judgment. This is where the battle's at. That's the kind of feeling that makes you want to hide, makes anybody wants to hide. And we would say we don't hide from that, but it's fight or flight or freeze time. It is for a lot of people. You know what to do, but you still can't get it done. It's here. If you listen closely, it's right here. It's the feeling that makes you pull back. It's the feeling that leads you down the wrong road. Okay, I got to get this done. I'm almost there. Oh man, we did so much today. I'm just gonna stop right here. Oh, let me go play a game, or let me call my friend. So you can't wait for those feelings and those thoughts to go away. You have to stop the momentum, because the thought is going to show up. And obviously the feeling is gonna start rolling. So how do you stop the feeling from going any further? You have to become aware of it. You have to practice becoming aware of this happening. This is where the battle starts, right with the feelings. Once the thought comes, the battle starts when the feeling ignites. You have to catch it right there, because once the thoughts happen and you start feeling bad, it's a cycle. And it's something that you've repeated so many times that you can become aware of it, because the feeling will start to make you feel off, a little bit bad, tired. It's almost like checking your temperature. It's like, aren't you tired? Dude, we've done so much. Or you're stepping into something new, and it sends a little bit of fear into your world. Warns you about being embarrassed. And then you start noticing that it's happening, but you follow the feeling down the road. That's what stops you. That's why people just can't do it, even though they know what to do. You have to catch it. My feelings just changed. I was fine just a second ago. How many times have you said that? That's it. That's in the moment. You're right there because the thought happened. Why did the thought happen? The ego noticed you were moving forward. So it sent the thought. The thought sent the feeling, kicked in your nervous system. Why? Because the ego felt threatened. So you notice it, you become aware, and you say, wait, I know what this is. I know you. I know what you're doing. If you practice that over and over again, it becomes easier and easier to catch. Less and less time in your day will get wasted because you do already know the old story. Shoo, you're changing it on purpose. So what's really going on? Well, the ego only knows the old story. It lives by it. So you want change, you start to follow through, and the ego notices that you're moving forward. It's not threatened yet, but it can tell. And it sends a warning shot, a thought. And if you push past that warning sign, now something happens to the ego. The ego, listen well, the ego literally gets scared. Now it really wants your attention. Why? Because you now have the ego's attention. There's no way you're going to threaten me this way. And that actually means you have some control or starting to gain control. And when that happens, the ego starts to scream because it feels like you're bypassing its importance, its role you've been playing and following your whole life. So it screams, and it screams some bull. It screams, what if you fail? But I want you to notice something. When the ego says, what if you fail? What if you don't make it? What if they judge? Anything. It says you. What if you fail? It didn't say, what if we fail? What if you fail? It's sending a message. You're all alone. If you continue down this path, you are on your own. No more backup from me. So I want you to think about that for a second. This is how delicate the ego is. That it will send a message of small separation, a distinctive message of small separation, designed to make you feel stuck or alone, scared and unprotected, all because the ego wants you to stop. It wants to scare you so that you never try to change the old story ever again. That's how desperate it becomes. Because it knows, the ego knows that it doesn't have to beat you here. It just needs to make you feel alone and insecure long enough so you quit. And if that doesn't work, it sends more warnings. What if you get embarrassed? What if they judge you? What if this goes wrong? What if you look stupid? Because it knows if it can change your focus to pain, it can change your state. And once it changes your state, your nervous system starts reacting. Nervous system is going to send all the old feelings of fear, because it's a fear thought, right? It's a lack thought. So it's going to send feelings of fear, pressure in your chest, and sometimes panic. And as soon as any of that happens, and then some, the old story starts to run. The old pattern kicks in. We call it the habit loop. So the thought, the feeling, the habit loop. The thing you have done so many times that the brain doesn't have to think, it's automatic. And believe it or not, even if you get frustrated because of what just happened, you start getting mad, man, here I go again. You start to shut down just a little bit, maybe a lot. And even when you go back to the old story, guess what? It caused you to feel relief. Man, how about that? You're getting relief from chaos the ego started. The ego created it, all because it felt threatened. So the ego sends the thought, the feeling follows, the nervous system reacts, and the old story continues to run again and again. And now you're starting from scratch. That's why so many people search on the internet. How come I know what to do all the time, but I still can't get it done? Because this is happening right here. Hopefully that was clear enough. Comment clear if you got that message. So let me ask you, why does the ego kill your progress? And this is the part that needs to be learned by everyone. So when the ego says things like, what if you fail? What if you die? It's going to get desperate. What if you die? It'll go from the question to you could die. but it's not talking about you. How about that? So what do I mean? It's not talking about you. Why am I saying, how about that? It literally is not talking about you. It literally is talking about itself. The ego is saying, if I don't take control of this situation, I'm going to die. Not I, me, the person. The ego says, if I don't take care and take control back, I'm finished. He starts to ask questions. What if he or she finally gets it? What if they figure out their old identity's not really them? What if they realize it's me, the ego? That's why I say your ego is killing your dreams. It's not you. It's separated from you. You're actually supposed to be the observer, utilizing the tools. And this is one you need to master. And that's why you can imagine why the ego starts to scream, making you feel your nervous system take on all this pressure when it doesn't need to. And it screams and it screams and it sends fear, it sends pressure, it sends embarrassment. It actually is trying to make you believe you are fear. You're scared. Or it's trying to make you feel embarrassed, shy away from, because it believes that it has to convince you that you are that old story. That's what I mean when I say the ego's not you. I will link the video about the ego not being yourself, because we have to come to an understanding for you to get unstuck. If you still can't do anything, you have to understand that the ego is not you, that the ego is the old identity, and it's trying to stay alive. And if you don't catch it right there, if you don't notice it, then you won't be able to interrupt it. And the old pattern runs and the ego wins. We've experienced it. It wins again and again. And we're like, ugh, this is what we are. So what I'm telling you right here, right now, you have to train yourself to learn how to notice it. And then you have to do something about it. You definitely have to interrupt it. Not once, over and over again. Just the same way it attacks when you want to change. You practice interrupting your brain and you'll get great at it. And once you start to interrupt it, you can start to replace the old with the new. You start the new story. And what follows with the new story is new feelings. And then new confidence starts to respond. But listen carefully, don't make this mistake. Because you might get to that point. You might be doing this already. But the mistake would be taking leaps. So when you replace it, make the replacement small. Don't make it a big leap because you're impatient. That's how you get trapped and feel like you still can't do it. Because when you try to take a giant leap, your nervous system has nothing there. And it makes it easier for the ego to send nervousness, a chain of different levels of fear, uncertainty. So keep it small. When you keep it small, you're going to keep it believable. You're going to keep it repeatable. So the goal is to find the repeatable replacement and do it over and over and over again until it becomes the new behavior, and the new behavior becomes familiar. And then the familiar behavior becomes who you are. And that's how you become excited, breaking free. With all the books I've read and all the things that I've done, this is the simplest way I've found to move forward fast. And I gave it a process. And it's pretty simple. Pause, take a breath, and choose. For the real beginners, just getting to the point where you can realize your brain just threw something at you, you're like, son of a mother, he's right. I sensed it. I caught it. And you catch it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, you're going to laugh. And then you'll be able to sense it coming, pause, and say, we need to change this right now. Because that pause immediately breaks the momentum that the ego has. When you take a deep breath in, you interrupt the nervous system. Take a deep breath in, you relax it all the way down and all the way out. It gives you space. It gives you a moment in time where you can make another choice instead of following the old pattern. It gives you enough room to stop reacting and being controlled. And then, of course, you get to choose. Choose the course you want to stay on, what the next action is going to be, the direction, and tell yourself, this is who we are now. We're not going backwards to some old story. We're moving forward. And that choice right there pushes you into a forward motion, momentum. is now on your side, being directed by you. You're not just following an old pattern, you're almost becoming numb. When you react from the old story, the old emotional pattern follows, gives you all these junky feelings, and you're really not choosing anything. You're just repeating. And you're repeating the old feelings, the old story, the old habit loop. But when you pause, breathe, you get to choose. You get to give yourself a new direction. So if you get angry because the old feelings are running, you get short-tempered, you pause, you breathe, and you choose, and you won't find yourself feeling embarrassed. You won't find yourself trying to hide. You won't find yourself looking for excuses because it started with a thought that gave you a feeling. It's nuts. Now you can take control back. And what you're doing right there is you're taking notice that because you're interrupting an old pattern and starting to repeat a new pattern, a new direction you're going in, you start to say, this is who we are now. We're not the old pattern. We can do the interrupting. We can take the next baby step. And we can start down the road of success by taking it easy and not paying attention to those feelings. And if that's the only thing you take from this, is stopping to judge yourself. If you feel self-judgment anywhere at any given time, it's the ego. You can now interrupt it. So when you pause, breathe, and choose a new direction, you're interrupting a loop and taking control back from the ego. You're stopping the old momentum, the old pattern from running, and you're giving yourself an opportunity to now know what to do and do it. And if you found any value in any of the things that I said here today, please like and subscribe, because you can start changing your life today.